Man, this is
Little
Coach. This is the nicest setup right now.
Right.
Oh man, especially just after we ate them cheesesteaks. I'm in my bag right now.
You're in your duffel. You feeling it? Cheesesteaks was good. You know.
Yeah, Aldi's is good.
Aldi's, hell yeah, Aldi's is a spot, man.
How many? Do you know like how many Aldi's there are in like America? Like or like just around here? Is that is it like a Pennsylvania thing or is it like a national thing?
I think it's a national thing. Yeah.
I think
Or it could be an East Coast thing.
East Coast thing.
I don't know. Aldi's it's hitting the spots when they turned organic now too.
Well, it's organic, it's gluten free, and it's also like I don't know. It's cheap because I think they sell like either not off brand stuff, but they have like their own kind of market. I want to say.
Yeah, I think they don't deal with the main street like Walmart and Giant Eagles and all those shit.
Yeah, for real.
They go with like probably smaller companies, something like that in their lane.
Yeah, right, and just co-op with them.
And then probably get you're only selling these to Aldi's. Or certain stores that fit in that
category, like the other smaller grocery stores. Like we out my way, like a hometown market, stuff like that.
Right. No Walmarts.
Yeah.
Stay out of Walmarts.
Yeah, that's pretty much the message from what we just gathered there. Don't go to Walmart, go to Aldi's. If you're from Altoona area especially, go to an Aldi's. Yeah. I wasn't joking when I told you my dad literally drives from Penn State area, State College, and he comes down here.
I can't believe there's not one up there for all those college kids.
Yeah, well, they have Wegmans, but Wegmans is basically now like it's basically the gluten-free Walmart.
Okay.
Like that's to me that's what it is. 'Cause, like I walk in there, I just feel like I'm in a Giant Eagle.
Yeah.
But like their shelves are just stocked with gluten-free shit, and not just gluten-free shit, but shit you've never even heard of. Like food, I'm just like, what is this? You know what I'd like?
It is. That's what they do, man. I mean, I'm really surprised they don't have those though. I would think on a college campus you would want a selection. Are you saying there's just a Wegmans? There's not a Walmart? Is there a Walmart?
Oh, there's like 2 Walmarts around there. But I mean, like but you're right. Like a college town, you think like they'd want all this homemade stuff, and I think that's where the mom and pop shops come in. Because downtown, there's like little restaurants and things that sell like their own kind of diverse culture kind of food, and stuff like that. You know what I like around here is like a fish market or something.
Fish market.
Like a market where like they bring in like fish and shit, and like you could pick it out, eat it, and like you can even prep it yourself. Even if it's not like stuff that's around you.
Shit with the head on it still?
Yeah, just chop it off. Yeah.
The shit with the head on it, that shit's crazy. That shit looks creepy, man.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know, because, like, I like salmon, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing about salmon is it's in the, when you buy it, it's, like, processed and shit, or, like, you don't trust it. I just don't trust it. You know what I mean? Because you either get it, like, out of the can, which it just feels gross to me. Like, if I had, like, a salmon, I could just, cut it off, because, like,
fillet it up.
Yeah, I got a Pat, man. He used to go fishing all the time. I remember I caught my first walleye. He's like, when we get your walleye, he's like, we're gonna take it home, and we're gonna cook that son of a bitch, and you're gonna have the best fish you ever had. And he wasn't joking.
I fished when I was younger. I haven't fished in a while, but I never had the try. I guess if you're hungry, that's had to be one of like top foods from back in beginning of time. I would think they ate a lot of fish.
And especially because, it was so, especially when people build around towns that work on the coastline, and it was an easier source of food than, say, like maybe growing some of the pigs. Because the fish feed themselves. You don't have to, like, farm them. Right.
There's a nice farm up our way. A lot of, like, fish. They then throw them out there. That's why there's good fishing up like Lake Erie and stuff.
It's actually a big business around here in Pennsylvania, especially around like Spruce Creek on your way to like State College area. They have like all kinds of little fish farms there for trout and stuff, and they stock that because there's people that just come through that river and that valley there where they fly fish and all kinds of shit. If you want to see people fly fish, that's where you go. They're just always down
I tried that once. I wasn't good at it.
Yeah, me neither.
It sucked. I sucked at it.
Because all it is like you just got to act like you're
just flipping it back and forth. Just give me a bobber.
Yeah, really. Like, just
a bobber and a worm. I'm good.
Yeah. Really, because all I gotta do is sit around and drink a beer and like watch the fish go by.
Just fucking sit there and just somebody catches. If one comes by, shank it. Really.
Yeah. What's funny is that when you're a kid, it's just you're so impatient. Like, no, I don't want to. Like, am I gonna? you're always like up your dad's ass or like playing with toys. Like you don't even pay attention to your fishing rod. I know that for a fact. You don't even care. But like now when I get older, like if I go fishing, it's like, you know, you just sit there for the peace of quiet. You know, like you might just have a beer or two, sit there, and you know, maybe just
relax.
Relax.
It's just speaking of the one we were saying about the fish beginning of time. Think about who decided to try to eat things. Like
just things in general.
Just like in general, like they're like, this is food. How's come they looked at something else and said this ain't food? Like normally, I'm sure there's people out there that eat weird shit. You know, there's delicacies, I guess, in different countries and shit. But us, like, why did we choose to eat a pig instead of a horse? Like, who made that decision?
Right. And you know what it probably boiled down to was either taste or the usefulness of the animal. Because the horse had more use for, like, transportation.
And work, too, yeah.
And work. So people were like, well, let's use the horse. We'll ride the horse. We'll use the horse to do work. They're muscular. They're bigger. They're stronger.
Strong, fast.
Yeah, pigs, like, I mean, pigs are strong and, you know what I mean, they have those kind of things, but they're not built to do the work, and they don't have that kind of mentality, you know, and pigs are stubborn.
Or chicken.
Yeah, or chicken. I mean, and
Go cut that chicken's head off, pluck it, let's eat it.
If we didn't breed chickens would be extinct a long time ago. We breed, literally that species of animal still exists today because we bred them to eat them. Like, that's why they're still alive and still exist. Like, the dodo is a good example because when we found the dodo, which was basically, you know, a chicken, we just killed them all. Like, we just killed them and ate them all up until there were none left. Because we didn't have no conservation, nothing. We were like, these dumb birds, you know, do that.
Let's just eat them.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Which dodos would have been really cool. I wish they were still around.
Or fire, too.
Fire?
I'm going way back to caveman because it just bugs me out to think, like, how did they figure it out? Did they have a rock and they were just like, fuck, got pissed or something, trying to build something and fucking threw it, hit another rock, spark, and then fire, and they were like, whoa.
Oh, making fire, as you're saying. Oh, bro, that's...
Just think about that.
Yeah,
like, all the inventions and everything that pops up, you gotta be out of your fucking mind to come up with some of that shit.
Yeah, but hey, that's how society goes forward. Is the nuts guy comes up and says, "Let's try this," and everybody's like, "Well, I don't know." And he's like, "All right, it works." And like, "Okay, it works, I guess." And then they keep, and like, there's like they figure out little flaws with the system, and they keep
trying, and trying. What they say, dude took 1,000 times for the light bulb, but how do you think of that?
Yeah.
How do you sit there and be like, I'm gonna fucking make light?
Yeah, I know. I mean, and what it is, though, is it's built, like the light bulb, it's all built off previous discoveries other motherfuckers like him
and
thought of.
Built onto it.
It added from their work, so it's like, it's so cool.
Or the telephone, that's the weirdest thing. That goes back pretty far to, like what was Little House on the Prairie days.
Yeah.
You know the show Little House where they're fucking, you wind that motherfucker talking, it's going through wires. How? To me, it's one of those things like, what's his name said? Jay-Z said one time, he said, most of my music comes to me when I'm asleep. I wake up out of my sleep and jot down the idea of the thing. I think that's what happens to certain people. Like, people, quote unquote, genius that are probably just really fucking crazy.
Really nuts. They just happen to have a thought that's just... It's crazy, but it has some root, or it has some use. It's, you know what I mean? Which we'll get into crazy people here later on, but...
And then they seen some other shit, like you said, that, oh, maybe he just didn't go this far with it. Let me add this onto it and see what happens. It's pretty much what technology is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just adapting old stuff and making it better. I mean, that's how it's... By making it better, I mean, they're, there's a word, I can't think of it. It's a good word for it.
Enhancing?
Enhancing. Like, they grab something and they take it that's old and they say, we'll make this, improve it. We'll add improvements to it to make it more efficient, you know?
Or just like, I think you posted something about it. You said something that it was nature's course. I don't know about that as often as it happens.
What do you mean about nature's
fires?
Course? Oh, the wildfires.
We got so much time. They expect us to believe, like, I don't believe that happened in the 60s. I believe it was a fucking Hollywood thing when they landed on the moon. I don't believe that. But they expect us to believe that then. But you telling me you don't have the...
Wait, hold up.
You're telling me you don't have the technology to contain fires?
So you don't believe the moon landing?
No.
Okay. We're just gonna leave that there and grab it. I'm gonna put a pin in that, and we'll leave it there for a different day.
I'll believe in that.
But the wildfires and stuff, I just know it's for thousands of years. It's been a part of the of not culture, but the ecosystem of California. I mean, there are animals that have literally adapted and evolved to that way of living out there. Like there's trees that like animals in that ecosystem depend on wildfires. And they're adapted to survive.
But do we believe that people in the government are sitting there saying, "Oh no, the ecosystem depends on it. Let it burn"?
Oh no, I agree. And the reason why is because people built there. And like I said, that and the post you're referring to was saying like, oh well, they're trying to get rid of the Bible and everything. Yeah. And that whole thing was just dumb to me. And I was saying like. The point they were trying to make was, look, it's on fire. It's like, it's always been on fire. Like I said,
there's always
for hundreds of thousands of years, that ecosystem has been so dry. And the slightest spark, or there's even, and that's something else I was reading too, there's even birds that, like, they hunt, they will try and start fires because they will flush the mice out. Like,
oh shit.
Yeah, like the mice and the rabbits and
like, let's start a fire.
Yeah, like they'll like if they find like whatever like open flame, they'll grab a stick from like say like a wildfire that's happening far away, grab it and start a fire somewhere else and watch for the animals to come out of the fire.
Pick them off.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but those ones, like, I know we have better technology, better cameras. That one looked pretty bad.
Well, the wildfire that happened just this year, yeah, it was terrible.
It looked pretty bad, where a lot of people were misplaced. And I just think in that manner, you gotta, like, if people are, you gotta do something.
The only thing that sucks is, the truth is it's the reason why it's so bad is because there's just the fire's growing. You gotta think about it like this. The fire is growing on all fronts from where it starts. Like, it's not just moving in one direction. Like, it'll start going out this way and this way until it either runs out of woods and stuff to burn or, whatever. That's how it stops. And you got to think that means that these people from California that are stopping the fires, they're going to like try and surround a fire that keeps getting bigger. And I think that has a lot to do with the first response to the wildfires. If you don't get them while they're still small, which is, I'm guessing, what happens a lot of times with them, if they don't get them while they're still small, it becomes harder and harder and harder to contain them.
Oh, yeah, and it goes fast. I was in a fire before when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
That fire engulfed the house like that.
Yeah, it doesn't play around.
It was like, soon as we were outside and it was just smoke and the pinpoint, nobody really knew what was going on. But by the time the fire the house was destroyed, and it started in a back room because of a socket.
Electrical socket. Yeah.
And it just, you could see it, like when you went back in there and they were looking at it, how fast it just blew up the wall and just ate everything in sight. So they move fast, and I can imagine, like you said, it's all dry shit out there. Mm-hmm. Shit ain't wet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I mean by like thousands of years it's been going on. It's because the climate hasn't changed there for a while. That's how that environment is. It's dry. It's so dry. And I'm saying, but your point that you're making was the technology. You're saying we don't have the technology to stop that thing. And I agree that I believe the technology exists. The problem is it's the people and the money that they got to put forth to stop it, and the preventative measures. And in an environment like that, you can't take preventative measures. I mean, shit just happens. People flick a cigarette, and that's all it takes. Right. You flick a cigarette out, and then you get that dry piece of grass, and it's that dry.
Or do things like this. I get what they're doing. I get it. I mean, it gives somebody some time. But they're using inmates, paying them $1 a day. What they would make I think it's $2 if you're up on the front. That's crazy to me. But do things. Like, if you're going to put people in, put them in a position to, like, better themselves and get out and learn something. Like, if you can learn something like that, say these guys, and I'm sure they're learning something being on that line, you know what I mean, fighting a fire, that might be their move when they get out or something like that. Or teach them how to run the technology that can stop.
I agree with that totally, except I'd have to also look at the crime that they committed. If you're like a murderer or something, I'm not letting you out.
No, they're not letting you out.
Especially when there's fires and shit going on. Like, that's the worst. Because you know what a murderer is going to do. A murderer's going to be like, all right, looks like we're going to have some fun today. Like, what can we turn up?
Right.
But I get it. The drug offenders and get those people out.
Nonviolent crimes.
Yeah, nonviolent crimes. Yeah. And get them out and do stuff, to better themselves. And also, like I said, they're people, human beings, and we're paying tax dollars, and we're wasting that tax dollars just having them in there,
just housing them, and not basically just housing and feeding them.
Yeah, and they're not contributing anything back to society. So
except some of them companies are. Plus, it's such a small percentage of the people that are actually going in there and working and doing something.
Yeah.
Some places it's mandatory, you got to do something, but they're making money for big companies. It's not for really, like, what can you do with that once you get out? You'd have to prove to somebody, you'd have to get that shot to prove that you know what you're talking about. And I think that's one, just segue into something else. And on doing that, like, if a company that was taking advantage of all them tax breaks and all that minimum payment and labor, not having to pay healthcare and all that, that all falls on us, the taxpayers.
Oh, right.
So if they turned around and they said, okay, what we're basically going to do now is you're in here, you're going to get trained with this company, and then that company, they're taking it, they're getting all the wins off that, all the breaks and all that, but once you leave there, do you think you can go to their company and get a job? No. I think that should be part of the thing. Like, we're going to train you, and then we're going to give you the opportunity, even though it's at a lower level. It could be at a lower level. It could be at a lower pay grade, because you have to prove yourself.
No, man. Actually, hold on. I just dropped some.
There's a couple things.
The only thing I was going to say, and I'm going to bring this up to the audience because in case they're interested, me and Coach want to do an episode on sex workers and stuff, and that we found it very interesting. It has a lot to do with like taxes, IRS, and porn stars and things. I want to know if you guys would think that would be a very interesting topic to talk about. So, in the comments section, let me know if you want to talk about that. I know we're going to be hearing a lot of guys hooting and hollering up in the comments, but I do know that there are a fair amount of women who also,
Could be your girl. The ones that are crying too. It could be their girl that just don't even know it.
Yeah, she's like,
You'd be surprised how many times I've ran into that.
What, like the girl was actually like out like hoeing, make
prostitution.
Money.
Because just think about how many people just cheat for years and don't get caught. Just cheating alone. Now, if you were making money and it was more organized,
right?
Think how many people don't even know that. I came across that a lot in my lifetime, where a girl popped up and she was either doing porn,
or like cheating on her man for years on end,
or doing the webcam shit.
Yeah,
I've ran across that a lot.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, we'll save our talks for it, but just let us know if you're interested in that. I mean, I think just what you just said there is interesting. Everything about it is.
Oh, shout out to the fucking Black Bears. We've got some competition in last week. In the bowl. I think we shared something on there. We'll probably put it on on media or something like that.
Yeah, we'll share the video to. We could just share it to the Bridging the Gap page and just show that we were out there. We
highlights. I mean, I didn't think we did too bad. I mean, we could. I wanted a little more out of it, but I quickly identified the problem. I think we did good because we only had 5. I think we were the only team that didn't have a substitute.
We were. The
only team that our guys had to play, and I think the longest rest we had was no more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, no longer than 5.
In between 5 games, went 3-2, tied for second. So shout out to Dev, Brandon,
Khalil,
Joe,
and Tyler.
You guys did a great job. I'm proud of you. We're just going to keep moving forward with that. If you guys know anybody that wants to play, check us out. I was thinking about that too. When we figure something out, like what the next move is, what you guys want to do, whether it's tourney-wise, we just throw it. I think I asked him that. DJ, what's his name?
Clark. CJ or Clark?
CJ. I think I asked him that, and he said, yeah, we could probably, if you guys are trying to enter a tournament. The other guy did too. So we could post something up there and see if anybody else that was playing wants to.
Yeah, like if they got time, I mean, that'd be a good way to grab players too. Because say like there is someone that's got free time and we could use other people for our league or something.
Throw them in there, so we have people to replace. I think.
And they get work during the winter, and then the summer comes and they still have that league.
Their spot. Most of the leagues I've looked at are tournaments. It's usually around 15, 16 people you can have. So we could probably get some people, then get some people on hold. In case some people can't make it, hit them up.
Yep, I agree.
So, good job to you guys. They're out there repping the Bridging the Gap, too.
Always repping the Bridging the Gap.
Repping that. So, you guys did awesome. I'm proud of you. Next time, we're gonna go harder. I wish I would have I wanted to call some more plays, but I figured I'm going to let you guys just backyard play them right now.
Yeah, well, everybody else is backyard bowling, too.
Yeah,
so
we
kind of... it'd take too much time and people would kind of get frustrated because they'd be like, because they would have been like, well, you guys are just sitting here calling plays. I mean, we just want to play.
And we're in the time, so we'll wait to get more organized. But I think you guys did excellent to only have 5 and didn't really get together for a while. I'm pretty sure most of those guys have been playing for a while.
Yeah, like together. I mean, and you gotta think about it. We played with Joe and Tyler all of twice.
Yeah. So excellent job. What else was there? That was hot topic. They finally got the fucking rainbow, dude. I don't want to see anybody go to jail, but
Rainbow, you mean Tekashi?
Tekashi, but I mean, the saying goes, if you keep campaigning, you will get elected sooner or later. So.
Well, yeah, no, and I had my opinion on it too. I mean, if you're gonna sell weapons and things, and then I think he openly stated that he's been pretending to be a gangster or a criminal. But if you're doing gangster criminal shit, and you're not pretending, and I'm saying, like, if you do crimes, like you said, you keep campaigning, you're gonna get elected. I mean, if you do crimes, you have to pay for them. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a rapper or whatever. And we've seen rappers get off before, right. And I think they actually they let him out, I believe, today.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
They gave him bail. Mm-hmm. He was offering. He had 1.7 in his bank account. Like, you can have it. I gotta get out of here. Like that gangster shit. But to me, this was all, like, they call it a plant. Somebody came up with the idea, had the money and the connections, and said, "Hey, go act like a fucking idiot, and we're gonna make you some money, and we're gonna make a whole bunch of money, and surround yourself with these type of people." It was a plan. Trust me. They had a whiteboard.
I guarantee.
They had a whiteboard working it out. Here, put this 6'9" on your thing, and just do whatever you want, and we're gonna keep you protected. That's what they told him, and he believed into that. And you can't, you gotta live your own life, man. You can't let people put you in positions for you to fail yourself, because he's screwed. You can't beat the federal government.
No, you can't beat the Fed.
It's like 98% that the federal government gets convict you. Yeah, so
they're gonna get you. So yeah, I'm kind of we're gonna wait and see, because we got a whole nother day here. Maybe whenever they said, if Meech gets out of us tomorrow and everything, for our next recording, we'll sit down and we'll talk with him what he thinks about the whole Tekashi thing.
Yeah, it's totally different. He's from a different generation. Like, big problems between that generation and the next generation, which is one of those topics I wanted to do all the time, is get an older generation with the younger generation and sit down and talk about things. You know what I mean?
What, hip-hop?
Yeah, overall in hip-hop, to see what people really think. I know what I think. It's not really, I ain't mad at nobody, do you? But some people are just crazy. But that's pretty much all the hot Jonies I had. I don't think there was anything.
Nah, really. Nothing too hot, Pop. Well, we're about to get hot. We're about to get up in that federal court stuff today. So let's go ahead. Let's dive into the meat and bones of the subject. So today we're talking about, a couple months ago, this was back in August, I do believe, there was a compound found in New Mexico that was housing 11 children, which was actually 12 children, but one of them died. And they were a Muslim family. There was 5 adults out there. 2 were sisters to one brother, and that brother had a girlfriend who was, her name now escapes me, and
names are too difficult.
Difficult.
They'll pop up, right?
I'll throw them up. But I think her name was Levi. I'll look it up while you talk or something here, so I have it, because there's at least 1 or 2 names we have to try and keep. But there was the girlfriend of the boyfriend, and the boyfriend had 2 sisters, and then the sisters had a boyfriend. So there was 5 adults in total, and they found this compound that was out in New Mexico. And I'll go ahead right now and put up a video here for you to look at. If you look at the place, it's a shit sty, and it's just crazy because they built this on some guy's land that it wasn't even their land. It was owned by this gentleman here. And he's showing them around right now, saying, like, look at this, look at that. It's his compound, tires, and they're just picture 11 kids running around in this and living. Now, we'll talk about the narrative of the story. So, this group of people came from, I believe, Georgia. At least the boyfriend was. He comes from Georgia, and he had a girlfriend who had a kid, and he takes the kid, and they go out to New Mexico with his girlfriend now, who is the the ringleader of this whole operation.
Which is surprising to me. That's how I know it wasn't traditional Islam. Because if it was traditional Islam, a woman would not be leading it. That's just their culture. Not knocking nobody's culture, but women are play more of the background.
Yeah, right.
Than
in that culture.
playing it in the thing. That's how I know. That gave me warning sign number one, is when I found out, because I thought it was the guy.
No.
And then when we read that article today and you told me it was actually the woman, that gave off the warning sign number one right there. That these people are not traditionally, they're out of their mind.
Cuckoo.
Yeah.
But so we continue on, and she's there, and she's leading this whole thing, and the whole family's basically there, raising these kids in this New Mexico compound. And the son the son of the man who left Georgia, the boyfriend, the kid had some kind of disease where he had seizures and stuff like that. And instead of getting a medical attention, what they did is they would put the Quran to his head and they would pray for him. And he eventually died because the medicine, he needed medicine, he needed medical attention, and they chose prayer, and it did not cure him. So eventually, a couple weeks go down the line, and the landowner finds out they had built their their compound in the wrong lot. They built their compound on one of his lots, and their lot was back a ways.
Oh, quick question. Maybe we didn't get to that point yet, or even got the information. One, did they actually own something there, or were they renting a lot? Where did the money come? Where did the money? Because I could imagine it was.
Well, the way it looked out. Here's what I think. I think they had to bought it because the way it looks out there, it's like if you look at that land, and you guys can see the video. I'll post links and stuff. The land that's out there, if you think about it, it's like the middle of nowhere. So it's kind of like cheap land if you think about it. Like here, buy this lot, and then you get this amount of space to build whatever the fuck you want out there. You know what I mean?
For a nice price.
But, yeah. So I think they bought it. I would have to say. But they're out in the wrong lot, built there, and the guy comes up to him, he approaches him, he tries to tell him, hey, you need to move over here, and they would not move. So eventually, I'm guessing he made some sort of complaint. A SWAT team raided. In the USA Today article we read, they said they had no significant resistance, which me and Coach assumed that basically they said, we're not getting out, and then the SWAT team said, well, then we're coming in.
And then they finally were like, all right, we're coming out.
Yeah, right. And another little tidbit or detail that you need to know, these people had guns, like crazy guns. They had hollow points, all just loaded weapons everywhere around this compound. And they were teaching their kids how to shoot guns and stuff like that. So now we're moving closer to where we are today.
Well, let's point out they were all legally bought.
Oh, all legally owned weapons. Yes, that's important.
That's very important because that's going to be brought up in the defense part of it.
Right, and especially whenever you're talking about, what were their intentions with the weapons. Now, when we talk about their intentions, as they arrested all these people, two of the eldest children in that 11 said that they thought that the boyfriend, this is what the ringleader, Leviette, or I'm probably saying her name wrong, but whatever, said. She said that that he was going to come back and be reincarcerated.
Reincarnated.
Reincarcerated. Not reincarcerated. Oh, he's going back to jail.
Yeah, she's going.
Reincarnated as Jesus. He was going to come back as the prophet Jesus, which again is weird to me because they were I believe they had a Quran, and I know Jesus in their text is a prophet. He's not a son of God like he is in Christianity, but in Muslim religions, they see Jesus as a prophet. He's a prophet. Mm-hmm. Just like Muhammad. I mean, Muhammad's, more to them than Jesus is, but Jesus is a prophet nonetheless. So it's kind of weird that they think Jesus was going to be the one that come back, and they reincarcerate as Jesus, and reincarnate as Jesus.
Why I can't get to lock the little 3-year-old up, man?
Why are you trying to lock up Why are you trying to lock up Jesus?
Reincarnated little 3-year-old Jesus.
Reincarcerate.
What are you doing, man? but no disrespect to nobody's culture, nobody's religion, but we all know that that's not normal thinking.
It really isn't.
It's not normal thinking. And that's what we said is the extreme part of it, where the people take. Nas says it best in his song, "What goes around comes around." Religion, misunderstood, is poison. Because they're taking, like we talked about this a little earlier, that it sounds like they were taking just the pieces, which a lot of these denominations do. Mm-hmm. They just take pieces out of there and they choose which is right, which is wrong, and you don't have to mind this one. He didn't mean that, but he meant this one.
Right.
And that's what it sounds like they were going with it.
Yeah, and I mean, and me coming from my perspective of how I feel about religion. a lot of times too, that's a problem with religious texts is they say both things in the book. So you can pick to say this and then say the other thing.
Right.
Because it constantly contradicts itself because it's a book to have ambiguity. So it's you know what I mean, you can find whatever you want in it.
Yeah, you can find it's meant for that. It's
Yeah.
meant to not have a certain niche. It's meant to have
Touch
everybody. So you can pick something out and figure it out.
Especially for your own political agenda or, you know, whatever agenda you have.
And that's what it is. So, and I definitely don't like attacking anybody's, you know, beliefs, but when you're just out of, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, and you're so, I mean, it's not like you're so secluded. There was 5 of you adults and 12 kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot of people to try to build a compound. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree. And you saw all the tires. That was one thing I was thinking when I was sitting there. I said, they must have had help. Because do you see how many damn tires? Like, where did they get all these damn tires from?
Well, they also said during that thing when we were watching is that the tires, that's what the defense is going to use too. The tires are often used in that area to block the sand weather, the wind weather. So they're going to try to use that. They have, and they're going to use their religion. They actually have until the lady said what she said about the reincarnation of Jesus.
And and we forgot to mention the biggest part of that. He was going to become reincarnated as Jesus, and he was going to attack institutions like banks and schools. And like he was going to attack.
That's just, you can't say that.
And once you say that, I mean, you pretty much have just dug your own hole. I mean, when you make a statement like that.
It's your lawyers being like, shut the hell up. Don't say anything else.
Really? I mean, really. And
I got to try to figure out how to spin that one.
And you can tell they're delusional because they just say that, like, blatantly. Like, if you're someone who's not as delusional, you're going to say, okay, this is what we believe, but we don't want to say that because we know the court system's going to get us if we say that. Right. But she straight up just said it like it was, like, the bane of her life. You know, like, it was the like thing that was her conviction.
Like, that's what I was here to do.
Yeah, right. And that's what's kind of scary about it. You know, like I said, I'm not as familiar with the Muslim faith as I am the Christian faith, but I can almost guarantee you, just based on, you know, Muslims that I've known or met, I mean, they don't all handle themselves like crazy. You know, they're not crazy like that.
It's just another religious, like, it's their culture. It's the way that they, you know, do what they do. You know, I don't see. You won't feel any, like, I've been around many of Muslims. I'm not talking about the fake jail Muslims that go to jail and turn it, I'm talking about real Muslims that's been their faith all their life. They practice it. They pray every day like they're supposed to. They they do what they're supposed to do. Every man has faults. Every man, you know, makes the mistakes, but you don't feel uncomfortable around somebody that's like, just like, I feel uncomfortable. I really feel uncomfortable around anybody that's really pushing off a religious vibe, you know, but you don't feel uncomfortable if you're just witnessing it and trying to experience it and see what it's about. You don't feel uncomfortable, you know what I mean? Somebody overdoes it, like somebody that comes, like a Christian that comes to you and says every day, like every time you see him, you have to, this is what, that's just uncomfortable to me, man.
Yeah, like when you're breathing down someone's neck and everything. And, you know, like, this is what you have to... but that's how there's denominations, and they are. What I believe, you know... And we'll talk... We'll start asking these kind of questions. So, do we think these people are guilty of child negligence?
If the kid... I mean, they can fight for, though, is what they can fight. I know they can fight this. Like, if they can point out where it says that we don't use modernized medicine, and it's in their religious practice, they have a defense.
It's so shitty, though, because it resulted in the death of their kid, though. I mean, and that's, I don't know. I think those things are kind of just fucked up in general, because it's a kid. He has to obey by your rules, and he could have, you know, he might have been able to be saved and medicated and taken care of, but the parents refused that because of you know, their religious beliefs. You know, and that's what's shitty about it. And if that is a system where we have it set up that way, because it's fine if you're an older person, right, like an adult, and you choose not to get medical care because of your religious beliefs, like, to me, like, that's like, okay, you can do that. But like when it's like a kid, I don't know.
I
like,
think
even if it is constitutional, I don't think it's right. Like, me personally.
I don't think it's right. But what I think that they're gonna attack is that you took the kid from its mother.
Yeah,
and you what they're gonna say is you caused the death
Yeah.
of the child because
It
you took
took-
the kid from the mother. They're probably going to attack it in that manner and try to stay far away from the religious as possible.
Yeah, and you know what? That right there is damning enough that I don't think they even have to touch the religion. I mean, you kidnapped a kid that, I mean, it might have been your kid, but you took him away from his mother and crossed state lines to
She had
avoid
no clue.
prosecution.
Yeah.
To avoid it.
And that's another thing that they're gonna have to do. So I think they're gonna attack that. Now, as far as like the terrorist things, I mean, it's gonna be hard to prove if a kid said it. Even if that lady said what she said, that still doesn't say to that they were in there saying, "We're raising these kids to
Right.
go attack something."
Yeah, but that
It's
was
not
that was
enough.
from the mouth of the snake. But then also the two kids said it, the older kids.
Right.
So it's kind of hard because this is what they were saying when we read the USA Today article was, and this is something that's implied almost. How hard is it going to be to take kids' testimony, a child's testimony, and actually have a damning conviction of a certain crime?
They very rarely use kids
Yeah.
unless they were a witness to something.
Right, and that's what I think they're going to use them as a witness to these things being said and the life that's being done there, and you know how because they're going to use these kids as the way to figure out, well, how are these kids treated? You know what I mean? And they did let them out, I believe, right? That's what we read. They let them out, and they could talk with the kids. They could talk with the kids that that they were living with, but they couldn't talk about the court case.
So that means that they probably have like chaperones with them that speak that language.
Right, or and they probably have people that watch them like constantly. I guarantee you, they can see the kids, but it's under some kind of supervision because the kids, they're free right now. The 5 of them are free, but the 5 kids the kids of the 11 kids, they're probably on some kind of like care right now, and they're allowed to go see them, and they're under supervision.
Right. Yeah, I believe that, and it's one of those things. I mean, like the way that they're taught, the way that's being said, the ladies' comment, and how untraditional it is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And with the one guy of the kid that died, it wasn't his father, a prominent like leader in in Brooklyn or something.
Yeah, the boyfriend of the leader of that group. Yeah, Wajaj. I don't know why I remember the last name all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sorry if I'm butchering that last name, but that's just yeah. But he is a cleric, a head cleric at a church a mosque in Brooklyn, New York, and whenever you find someone who's so like already ingrained with a church, and then you have these guys who literally instead of moving up to like New York or Brooklyn or they moved out to New Mexico, which I guarantee the kidnapping of the son probably had something to do with that. Want to stay away from heavily populated people and areas.
There's just so many red flags popping up that
yeah,
shows that they were extremists.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying too. At best, they have to be denominational religious extremists. At best, at worst, terrorists. That's sad. That's saying something because that means like I can't. There's a part of me that just can't say they aren't religious extremists because they create like almost a whole different sect of their belief system in a way.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's totally different for the woman to be the leader. Right. I've never heard that. Never heard that in that sense. In any like the women they use children more than they use children male to do a lot of bidding. Like in the wars, you'll hear about like in the war in Afghanistan, how you hear soldiers say that they were scared to greet the kids because they were strapping bombs to the kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. In Iraq and stuff, they're just strapping to the kids
and they keep their like women pretty much out of that stuff. You would have some extremists that would use a woman because that's the only way they could have got that close or whatever, and a child. So stuff like that. But that is like the biggest red flag right there is that she's being considered the one that put it all together. So it's all to me. It's just like you went away from you were raised. If your dad's a prominent figure in Islam and has in a mosque and you were raised around that, you know what I mean? So somewhere it went, you know what I mean? It went the wrong way, and you were able to be, like most people that get involved that stuff are like pretty much brainwashed.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I went to go and look up and see because I think that's a very good point because we're talking about how extreme are their belief systems. I went to go look and see if do Muslims really believe in some people coming back reincarnated. I want to keep saying incarcerated. We were talking about jail earlier. I think that's why it's like on my brain. Reincarnated as Jesus. None of the Muslim, from what I just like skimmed through there, none of the people in there believe in like the reincarnation of like people coming back as Jesus. You know.
Well,
you know,
what you're saying as people coming back, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, and like
But
that just shows you it's kind of like a weird denominationalism where like they kind of made up like for instance Mormonism's a good example of this. Like, you know, they believe in like there was like these golden tablets in America and stuff. Like they added like this like mythos to the biblical religion that wasn't actually there, you know, and it was
They just made up something.
Yeah, they kind of just added some shit to it, and people believe it though. There are Mormons out there. You know, and that's what I'm saying is like this is usually how denominations become denominations of religions, is because there's like one sect that just either they go cuckoo or they just believe in a different interpretation of a story and then they go their separate way.
Or they had
or a different attitude towards the Bible.
They had a wacky dream, and
yeah,
I think that's what some of that stuff is. People just have dreams and they believe it. They just believe and like I said, we're not knocking anybody's belief. Basically, I'm trying to understand where people go to that point where they'd be like, if you go to the point where you feel like, okay, we have to, our religion, our faith is telling us we have to go attack
people and institutions,
innocent people,
right?
Like, sure, they're working at a job, but most people that get attacked and work at a job, they're not the ones that really understand what the job is that they're doing or how it is really affecting the actual workers. Yeah. It's the people that own it, it's the higher ups.
Right, and they're not hitting
them. They're not hitting them. They're hitting you know what I mean?
And there's higher up people maybe don't even give a shit. There's like, oh man, they just attacked this, and you know we'll have to just go hire some new people.
And we got insurance.
Business, yeah, and business is business. We just keep going. So, but when I said that, I was just trying to understand how crazy they are, because if we're gonna pin them down on the extremists, like if they're terrorists, I can't say that they're terrorists only because I think to be a terrorist you have to inflict fear for a political agenda, and they didn't get to that point yet, so they couldn't be classified as terrorists. And as far as we know, there wasn't any plans per se like drawn up or whatever.
They didn't have nothing. It didn't look like there was any other communication with other like higher cells or whatever they want to call them.
Yeah, and
other people that are on a list or something like that.
Other like, you know, like Islamic extremists and stuff. They don't look like there was any of those.
I think they were probably pushing for that. It was another one of those things. Hey, let's start something.
Yeah, like let's do this, you know, because
let's start it, and then we interfered with it once we found out what was really going on. I still want to know. They had a tunnel. What was it, like 150?
150.
I still want to know what they were trying to do with the tunnel.
Yeah, I agree.
Was it an escape route or something?
Escape route. Maybe it was like a shelter or something in case those people came and like, you know, because you think about it, like if you're a SWAT team, right, and then like say like these people crawl the end of a 150-foot tunnel and then they have guns. You're gonna be very careful. You're gonna have to figure out how to do it. Yeah, and I think, I mean, I'm just thinking about it like this. I'm not saying this is what it is, so don't anybody like attack me. But this is what I was thinking was maybe they would take the kids and crawl the whole way to the back of the end of the tunnel with the guns if they really wanted to. And if someone came for them, they want to save the kids, right? So they're going to have to get somebody down there because they can't throw a grenade in there or else it'll collapse the tunnel and they'll all die. So they want to get those kids, but if they barricade themselves back there with guns and like put the kids behind them in the back of that tunnel, how are the people going to get to them? Because it's a bottleneck.
Well, I mean, if you take it back when it gets to that type stuff, we go back to David Koresh. Mm-hmm. If you look at that and you read about that and you watch that, the government handled that totally wrong.
Oh yeah.
Totally wrong. There was no reason for them to actually be up there messing with them people. They should have just let them be. They weren't neglecting the kids. They weren't beating the kids. They weren't sexually abusing the kids. It was just they were practicing their right and they wanted to separate from that. Mm-hmm. And they burned that whole place down. Kids and all in there. So
so they don't really give a shit.
If it gets to a point where they're like, oh, you know, where they can't, their tactics ain't working, mm-hmm. they're just gonna say, oh, somebody made a mistake.
Yeah.
Somebody
goofed up, and then what they'll do is they'll find one guy to escape.
Yeah. Sorry, John.
Sorry, John. You gotta take the fall. And that's what they do, like in like we've seen in like police cases and stuff. Like, oh, sorry, Jimbo. Mm-hmm. Guess you're gonna have to take 5 months off. 5 months
leave. Paid leave.
Paid leave.
That's how it happened.
Yeah, it's just that's ridiculous. So
it could have been what you're saying, one of those plans where they're like, okay, we'd be able to. It just looks like that place was nowhere near
I think, like I said, they must have caught them where they weren't prepared yet, and I don't, like I said, it's all to interpretation until they reveal the truth of it. Like until they say something.
Until somebody comes out and says, well, this is what we're going with.
Yeah, because like we could speculate what the hell the 150-foot tunnel was and shit, but
or what the fuck they were doing out there. Period.
Yeah.
Like who goes in? If you look at the fucking surrounding area, like we're in Altoona, we're in a bowl. Basically, we're surrounded by mountains, and we're at the bottom of the bowl.
Right.
Now, if I'm trying to hide and build something, like and get my time to build it up, I'm not gonna put myself at the bottom in the middle of the hole.
No, yeah, I agree.
The middle of the bowl.
No, I agree. You don't put yourself
right out in the open.
But maybe that's what they were like kind of going for, was like out and like I said, they wouldn't even have gotten in trouble maybe as quickly if they were in the right lot, but they weren't.
Yeah, because you really can't do anything to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Because then they just be like,
because they came out, they've been like,
and it's their land.
Why are you on my land? Oh, you're not getting off my land. Now you can call police. Now you can call people to come say, hey man, they're on my property. Now they're asking questions. Yeah. Why are you on their property? What's going on in here? This looks funny.
And then they'd have no right to that property because they're not paying for it because it's not theirs.
Right.
So then they can send the SWAT team in like the word, if they were on their land, child services would be the word, because like if the guy saw the 11 kids there and he was like, what's going on here? Worst you call was child services and say this, but
and they don't even have to. You don't have to let child services in your house.
Right, exactly. Which, let's be real. I mean, could they really call it a house? I mean, it was like a shack. I mean, I think it was a camper. It was a camper they had. Yeah. It wasn't a trailer.
Well, it was not. Definitely, they could have looked and been like, they could have went and got a warrant.
Yeah, because
for it to happen. When child service gets called, they can just show up to their house. They're asking you to come in your house.
Right.
And if you refuse, then they're gonna go back and then they're gonna harass you. They're gonna find ways till you say, all right, you can come check on the kids.
But I mean, at that point, I mean, a child service person wouldn't even have to really look. I mean, they would just walk up and see where they were living and be like, yeah, like this isn't right. Like they don't even have to come in your home, like your camper. There's 11 kids and 5 adults living in a camper and then sleeping outside also, and it's New Mexico. It gets cold at night. It's a desert. Oh, because that's the thing about deserts is they get hot during the day, but they can't hold heat. They radiate it because there's no foliage or anything to hold the heat in.
Oh, it's cold at night. Las Vegas is cold at night. Out in the desert, very cold. Yeah, so it is what it is. We're just gonna have to let it unravel a little bit more and see what they report on it. Which I'm surprised that it's not getting as much attention as it is, especially in today's climate. But I think they're more, like you said earlier, they're more focused on the immigration and the caravans coming in. That I think it's off the Muslim hate train right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's like, oh, okay. But at the time it happened, it was a fluctuation. Everybody was like, see, bang, bang, bang. And a lot of people I found out they didn't even realize it was in New Mexico. Not Mexico.
And that's the thing. If it was in Mexico, people wouldn't even give a shit. Like, oh, there's Muslims in Mexico? Whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was in New Mexico, and then they're like, see, but no, this is what they're saying. See, that Mexican problem, that's what's going to be coming over the border.
Muslim Mexicans are going to come over.
This is what's coming, blah, 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 blah. But it was actually in New Mexico. You know what I mean? And these people all have ties to the United States.
Now our final question we wanted to answer today was, do we think this is something to really start paying attention to the Muslim population in America and be worried about? Like,
that train's probably sailed. It's on to the Mexicans now, bro.
Right.
That's what the government is doing right now.
I'm not asking like what the media coverage and like what the government thinks. I'm talking about me and you personally. Like, do we think like because of these actions, do we have to be more suspicious of like what Muslim people are doing in this country? Or their belief system, if it's dangerous, if it's treacherous, is it hurtful to other people? Do you know what I mean? There's a big community where I'm from of Muslims. You know, I know a lot of Muslims all my life. Even around 9/11, I didn't look at them like they pulled on in 9/11. This is when I was running around the street. This is a true story. Mm-hmm. In 9/11, taxi driver. He wasn't even Iraqi. He was like Indian or something like that. But the police pulled us over. I was in a cab. Okay. And they made us get out because he said the tags on the thing were wrong, but the tags weren't wrong on the car.
And then you could hear him talking to the other police. I could hear him. The other guy didn't. He said, man, we got the word to check everything right now. Because it was 9/11 that day, that night, got pulled over in a cab. And when they let us go, I was like, yo, why is the cab not? He's like, the cab number is right. They just called it in and all that. He said, I think this is because of what happened today. I think this is happening all around.
And I hear from people that were like, more cognizant than I was at the time. Like when they're talking about it, I mean, everybody was on edge in the country. Everybody was a little bit on edge. Like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Is someone else going to pop up? Something else going to happen?
You're going to, but you're going to be. I'm looking at the circle outside of the circle. Like if I seen a lot of abnormal activity within my eyesight in my neighborhood, yeah, I'd probably see like, oh my God, something bad's about to happen. But I never seen that. I just seen they had more concern. They had concern too with what was going on, why this was happening, explaining like.
I think the deciding factor in that, to me, like if we should really start worrying about it, is look at the past. And I can't say that it's something to really worried about, because the 9/11 happened, right? And then after that, nothing in America immediately happened, And it goes to show that what we need to be afraid of isn't Muslims, it's religious extremism. Because we have Christian people that are crazy that go out and kill abortion doctors. You got Muslims.
It's not even just religious. It's just extremism, period.
But I'm talking like, if we're talking about just Muslims right now, right? I'm saying like, if you look at it, the people, because we're asking about like, religious denominations, if they're, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. We should be looking out for crazy people or, whatever, or just that in general. But I'm saying, like, as far as religious goes, especially with Muslims, you gotta look at that and say, it's not the religion that's making people like crazy. It's the people in that religion that are, seeing the thing the way it is.
Again, it's all still it's a small. The people that are extreme is so small in the bucket.
It's a small drop
when you do the math, and that goes for everything. Everything that's hate is so small in the bucket. But they make it look like it's bigger.
And the reason why?
Than it is. Even in our country, like the hate, we'll say the white extremists. Mm-hmm. They're so minute and so...
Like KKK, is that what you're referring to? Like
they're so washed and, you know what I mean? They have no critical... But the way that they show it to you.
Right, and present it like as if there's some kind of bigger movement, when they're really not. And I agree with that.
It's still the same drop in the bucket of people... it's even lower than it's been. Sure, do you have people that are coming out of the woodwork that were sitting there and are probably lost, like how they did it before. It's just a new movement where people, but it's so small. It's not even a fact.
Oh, and this is actually something that kind of ties in that conversation I had with my buddy Adam today, because he was saying about the end of the world's coming. He said that to me, and he's saying about how how fucked up the world is, like it's coming. I said. And I thought about it. I mean, if you look at history, the world's always been fucked up. And just like you said, there's always going to be that small group or that group of people that's going to be like the hateful, the trying to get you, they're out to get you, because of their own circumstances and their own beliefs. And the extremists, not just religious, but, just extremists in general.
Extremists about anything.
Yeah.
You get extremists that'll just be like, government, we all know the government's fucked up. We all know that they got their own interests at heart. But if a motherfucker goes to the point every day where he's like, we gotta take the government down like that.
Right. You can even get on that. But most people are peaceful and loving and caring. And
it's the majority of
people. Yeah, it's the majority of people. Not every person's out to get you. And so, to me, I gotta say this. I gotta be truthful. It does make me question certain things about the Muslim religion, because I gotta look into that more and be understanding of what's being said in that book, so in a way I can see these things, or I can foresee them. I mean, we don't know a lot. We're in central Pennsylvania, the Muslim population, and we're not in like the the cities and stuff where like you'd expect to see those. So I don't see the mosques and everything around. But the most of the people that are in those mosques and stuff, they're just like the Christian people, that go to church every day. I mean, they're not making like a big deal about like exactly what the book says. They just pick out what they pick out is the stuff that's like the peaceful, the love, that kind of stuff keeps them content. The extremists take the book literally. Everything literally.
No. They're picking things out of there. The extremists pick things out, which we talked about before. It's so universal. The Quran, I read the Quran. I haven't studied. I read certain parts of it. Sat down with people just out of curiosity. not because I was trying to convert or do anything like that. I was just out of curiosity. I was wondering what it is that people are talking about. I wanted to understand the people that were walking around and living in my neighborhood. So I had a few sit downs and listened to all that. And there was conversation that they said that the people, the people that are doing these terroristic things are picking things out of the Quran and ignoring everything else, just like extremists in Christianity. They pick things out and they focus on that.
You know what?
And they avoid the ones that are saying,
you're just using their head a little bit. I mean, no, you're so right. You're so right. You made a good point, because now that I think about it, when you think of like even like Christian extremists, like the young Earth creationists who believe the world was made in like 6 days and all that jazz, even though like everything like we know in science stuff like that like contradicts that. Those people like take that part literally, but then there's like other parts of the book where like, well, I can't take this literally because how could that have even happened and blah blah blah, because like I said, the books contradict themselves, but they pick the stuff that they want to believe.
Right.
Just
like you said, we could find it. I could go through there and just pick out. I could go through there and pick a year of sermons if I wanted to be a preacher. 52 passages that could be all positive, and then just turn around and do it again the next year. Turn around and avoid.
Yeah. Or you
the negative one, the one where it says an eye for an eye, but it says somebody slaps you in the face, turn your cheek, turn
the other cheek. That's right.
So that's right there is like.
Yeah, and then you could but I mean at the same time too, you could go 52 weeks around and do the opposite if you're an extremist.
Yeah,
you could say you need to kill all the infidels and blah blah.
It says for an eye. If you're gay, you're an abomination. You could go through hate all through it. You can pick those things out
all the time. Yeah, I agree.
So every one, I think the most peaceful one that I didn't get too deep into it is like the monks and stuff. Their stuff is pretty
Buddhist and stuff.
Peaceful and chill.
The reason why it's peaceful though is because their religion requires you an attachment to the world. Like you don't attach yourself to anything. Like nothing in the world matters really. Like that's why they're so like one with, because that's the self. You know what I mean? Like you're only aware of like your existence to other people, and like you just kind of detach yourself from the world almost. There's more to it than that, but. Like I said, like generally that's why like they seem so chill, is because they've detached themselves. And when you get angry at them, they're just like, yeah,
it's okay.
But so just to recap, quick, just so to go through that.
Bottom line, do your research. We always say that we're here. We don't know. We're not fucking scholars.
Really?
We're just doing it. We're getting the information that we're getting, and we're looking a little deep in it. We're just basically giving our opinions on that, and with some supported facts and some supported just common sense.
Really, I mean, it's, and you know what it is it's not hard to really go out and do that kind of research, but we do it because we find it people just don't have the time, or it's just like a thing where like they don't want to know the whole thing. They just want to know the part that validates their viewpoint. Just like we were talking about, like I said, when this story came out, I didn't see a lot of people posting it, but I had Republican friends who were like, "Well, look at this," and pointed it out to everybody about, "Well, you see, Muslims are coming to get us," but it was like this one thing, this one time, and they didn't want to see the rest of the story as it unfolded. So we like to present that, but to reiterate, so I think they're guilty of child negligence. Do you?
Yeah, definitely. If the kid died,
terrorism. No.
I think they're delusional.
Yeah, I think they're religious extremists at like I said, at best. I mean,
delusional.
They
weren't set up. Could it have went there?
It could have.
They could have hid.
If it continued.
If they could have hid for a while and built that following. Yes.
But again, that's only if it that's maybe if it continued. You can't judge somebody for something that could have happened.
No, you can't. You can't be guilty about something what could have happened. Just opinion wise, like what came out of her mouth alone,
it was pretty damning of what could have happened.
Was saying everybody has some kind of focus, some kind of plan, some kind of goal that they're going to. So we don't know until we find out what the goal was. Maybe that was their whole goal, was like, we're gonna reincarnate somebody in Jesus.
Yeah, and then
maybe their whole goal.
And then they were gonna attack the institutions. But maybe they didn't even need a plan for it. They were just going to drive into town and find a bank. So maybe you could say that in itself is the evidence. But I still don't. It's not terrorism.
It's just crazy talk.
It's just crazy shit. You know what I mean?
You get crazy talk like that all the time.
Yeah, and as far as the Muslim thing, as like should we be weary? Me a little bit. I mean, it's not. But I think it's the same kind of weariness you need in everyday life. I think you just need to pay attention for the crazy people, the kooks, the nuts. You need to pay attention to those people, and people that are saying shit like, oh, we're gonna have somebody reincarnated as Jesus. Like, when you hear people like say that and they're gonna attack institutions, like those are the people you need to be listening to and getting help for, or not getting help for, but getting them, maybe out of society or somewhere else. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, you got all kinds. I mean, but we used to think that people were crazy that were saying aliens were coming and putting tinfoil on their head. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I still think they're fucking nuts. Like, if someone's wearing tinfoil out in public, like on their head,
let me not say that they're not crazy. We know they're crazy, but are they actually harmful to you?
Oh yeah, they're like harmless.
Harmless.
Yeah. Like,
you got to decide who's harmless, because you could fuck somebody's life up just because they're not all there. Yeah. I know mad motherfuckers in my family that say some crazy shit, but we know damn well they're not going to bust a grape.
It's the conviction. That's what you're trying to say. Like, it's...
You have to see those...
The people that are trying to... they're making moves towards
doing the goal.
Yeah, to doing that action.
And that's the difference. And I think that's what people do too much, is they see something out of the ordinary and, and then they jump the trigger. And I think that's what people, some people like and they make it into something that it's not. And then we know this, like that's a common thing. The neighborhood I'm from is you don't call the police because it causes a problem.
Right, a real problem.
You try to you try to police it yourself until you have to call the police. That's when you call the police. But you just don't call the police until you know that this shit's about to get out of control. Somebody's gonna end up dead. Something bad's gonna happen. Because if you bring other people in, they make a problem out of the scenario because they're like, that's what we're supposed to do. That's our job, is to make a fucking problem right now because we came and it's real. But we're making a problem.
Yeah, they're kind of like imposing their way of life on you. So I don't know, but hey, what do you guys think? Do you guys think they're guilty of child negligence? Do you think they're terrorists? And do you think we should keep an eye now on people of the Muslim, ethnicity and belief system here in this country? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you have any additional information that you want to add to ours, I just went over it very briefly. Like I said, I didn't give in all the names, specifics, and details because really it was just the narrative of the story that you really need to understand. So if you have any additional information you want to give me and Coach, hey, I'd love to see it and hear it. Maybe we could do a little, what's the word, touch up on it, like you give us some new information. And we might come back to it later on as the trial goes on here because it was supposed to be this month, but I haven't heard shit from it, and there hasn't been new articles. So
anytime you go to court, that shit gets different things happen.
Yeah, it might get pushed back.
Shit gets filed and shit like that.
Yeah, so it might be a little while, but yeah, like I said, we'll touch back on it. But as always, Bridging the Gap crew, we are out of here. Take care of yourselves. Stay beautiful. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Out.
A little bit of salt in there.
Some onion powder.
They might not have got caught for the drug incident.